Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club. Katie and I are both coming to you from Austin, Texas. We're here to speak at the Texas Tribune Festival, and we're going to follow the motto of Legal Fight Club when we do our speaking, Katie. It's not like normal Fight Club, is it?
Not at all. Normally in Fight Club, it stays in Fight Club. But as we know at Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club, we share with you all of the information that we have at our disposal. If there's some inside baseball, we'll share that with you as well. Norm, we do have a big case that's been filed in the state of California concerning Prop 50, which we've covered here and at the Contrarian.
That's right, Katie. And you and I love a good legal fight. And boy, friends, are we going to have one in California? Let me just unpack it for you. Then Katie will tell you a little bit about what's at stake.
Sure.
The Californians responded to Donald Trump's grab of 5 electoral votes in an illegitimate redistricting in Texas. Because, friends, he's scared. He did this months ago. He knew he was going to get wiped out on November 4, and it's going to be even worse in 2026. So he stole 5 votes in Texas. And California, led by Governor Gavin Newsom and the legislature, said, not so fast. If you steal over there, we will redistrict in response. Here in California, they put a proposition to the people. That's the way you should do it. The only thing Donald Trump confronted was his cronies in the mirror when he stole those seats, 5 seats in Texas, and he's trying to steal all over the country. California, they put Proposition 50 to the people of California. Katie, what did Proposition 50 ask the people, and how did that result in the litigation?
Yeah, so Prop 50 was, to your point, Norm, it set the table for the voters of California who responded overwhelmingly in favor of passing it to put it on the November ballot. And it basically allows for congressional maps that have been redrawn and approved in the state of California to be used for purposes of the races moving forward for just a couple of years. That's a really important kind of distinct kind of difference here between what we saw in Texas. Not only did the people get the chance to vote, and they turned out at 65% Norm in support of Prop 50, but these congressional maps are only temporary, just for a couple of years, and then they'll go back to the Independent Redistricting Commission, which draws the maps. Now, you recall, Norm, that back in July of 2025, the Department of Justice, led by Pamela Joe, one of Donald Trump's law lackeys, she used a Civil Rights Division lawyer by the name of Harmeet Dillon, who's a true Trump acolyte. Harmeet Dillon sent a threatening letter to the state of Texas stating that your, I don't know, Republican drawn maps from 2021 are not race blind, so you better do it over again or else we're going to sue you. So, of course, having Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in their pockets, they said, okay, so the Republicans took their allegedly race blind maps, confessed that perhaps they weren't race blind, and redid them. That is the real shame that we saw coming out of Texas. So that's why you saw Prop 50 in California. Again, big differences between what happened in Cali and what happened in Texas. Norm, you want to talk about an egregious conflict of interest? Guess who just sued a couple of days ago in California? Harmeet Dillon's law firm, the Dillon Law Group, representing the California GOP and certain California Republican voters. Now, just yesterday, the Department of Justice says, hey, hold our beer, we're going to intervene. But they put this interesting asterisk at the bottom of the first page, Norm. What did they say? They said, Harmeet Dillon is recusing herself from this litigation. But Norm, what the hell is happening? How can Harmeet Dillon's law firm bring that original suit and then the DOJ Civil
Katie.
Rights Division led by Harmeet Dillon bring the intervention? How can
Yeah, Katie, in the chutzpah of what you have here, where the Trump administration is pushing to steal the Texas seats, and then they go to court and they object to what is a purely partisan act of balancing out the theft. And then in Texas and around the country, they're pushing for it. In California, they're opposing it on partisan grounds. So this is not a racial gerrymandering fight, friends. Don't believe what you may hear. It's a purely partisan one. And under existing Supreme Court case law, because they're going to lose, it's going to run up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has said partisan gerrymandering, we don't get involved in that. So it's been a battle joined in the courts. Katie, explain the wider implications of this, including with what is going on at the Supreme Court and the Calais v. Louisiana case. Because this isn't the only redistricting battle. It has the worst chutzpah. It has the worst shamelessness to argue the opposite in California than everywhere else. But it's not the only place where we're seeing redistricting play out around the country.
No, and we know that the Supreme Court of the United States has heard oral arguments for the second time on a case called Calais versus Louisiana. And what's at issue in that case, Norm, is Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, kind of the last remaining strongest pillar of the Voting Rights Act that's supposed to protect against exactly that legitimate racial gerrymandering, right? This idea that, we want to make sure that our voters have the right representation when it comes to the people that they send to Washington, D.C. Calais is going to have massive implications if the Supreme Court's uber conservative majority decides that they do not want to allow for specific types of redistricting to be done and how maps are being drawn. And Norm, the Voting Rights Act has been chipped away in very large parts, starting as far back as Shelby County. And right now, a lot of our coalition partners and others are watching very carefully to see what the Supreme Court does. But in this particular instance, it does speak to a larger issue, which is if the policies that are being used and deployed by the Republicans are so favorable and great for Americans, why go through this hackery of trying to create these horrible congressional districts to favor Republicans? It's pretty partisan on its face. It's pretty horrific to think that you want to cheat voters of the value of their vote. And so we're looking at this really carefully, and I suspect, Norm, that there's going to be some other people that might get involved in this litigation.
Yeah, friends, you should stay tuned because we don't think that it's right that the Trump administration is engaging in these naked power grabs all over the country. And one of the amazing things when you support Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club, when you support the Contrarian with your paid subscriptions, you don't only get great coverage and analysis, you also support litigation remedies. So we want you to stay tuned in order to hear about some of the avenues that are available to you. It's not just Katie and I and our wonderful colleagues. You climb into the ring with us to deal with these problems. We have more than 225 legal cases and matters all over the country. And who knows, that number could be going up very soon. Now, Katie, there's more than just the court of law. There's also the court of public opinion. And talk to me about what you think contrarians can do, besides supporting us, besides subscribing to the Contrarian, about what the public can do to speak out about this attempted theft, because Donald Trump is scared he's going to lose if we have a free and fair election in 2026.
Norm, we saw recently at No King's Day 2.0, more than 7 million people come forward and say that we don't want a king. And what's happening now, and you've talked about it, Norm, and I just want to underscore because I think it's really important for people to see and understand. When California voters turned out, and at the tune of 65% of them stating that they want Proposition 50 to pass, that is a resounding message that is being sent to Trump and the Republicans that they don't want to see games being played when it comes to our elections. And so, what we need to do is we need to continue to speak up and speak out. Reach out to your legislators, reach out to your members of Congress. We're seeing that when we respond together in communities and when we're coordinated, that the needle gets moved. Specifically, this it's stealing the vote from people, Norm. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans love to talk about election fraud, and they allege that they want to see and preserve election integrity, when the reality is they're the ones that are gaslighting Americans when they say that. They're really the ones that understand that their policies are so unpopular, they have to rig the elections to get the result that they want. So people just need to keep on speaking up and speaking out and letting them know that they want their votes to be protected.
And friends, do you know how else, like on No Kings, making your voice heard, 7 million people acted that day. Do you know how else you can fly your contrarian flag in support of democracy, the rule of law, and American values? Yes, with our contrarian merchandise. There you see our beautiful t-shirt. We have dog merch like that dog kerchief. And much, much more. Our limited edition collection, when we do a merch drop, it's available one time only. There's our hat. It's a pure coincidence that it's Dodger blue. That is not intentional. The limited, it's great even for Yankees fans. There's another one of our t-shirts. This limited edition collection has something for everyone. The best part is the proceeds help fund all of the great coverage you've come to expect from the Contrarian, as well as the litigation to defend democracy that we've been talking about. It's available now in the Contrarian shop. Just go to shop.contrariannews.org. There's the tote bag. And I'm sure if George Washington were still with us, Katie, he would be a contrarian. Those rebels, they didn't want kings. So the American idea is contrarian in its nature. And we will be back with you on Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club with more coverage of the fight to defend Prop 50, to protect free and fair elections, to safeguard the rule of law. It's so great being with you. Last word to you, Katie.
Just wishing everybody the best weekend, and we'll see y'all at the next Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club.
See you, friends.